Dr. Anita McLaughlin, a transformational counselor, mentor, chaplain, author, and entrepreneur. Stay with me as we redefine another diamond moment. Diamonds are produced through time, heat, and pressure. The cut, clarity, and size of the diamond determine its use. The use of the stone adds to its value. Life's diamonds are produced in the same manner, and their value is determined the same way. Becoming who you were meant to be is a process, and that process has stages. Now, if you're a diamond, it's time to redefine the previous steps in your process. If you've been with me for a while, you know we've had a number of teachings that we've gone through. We've looked at how our lives have changed who we are, have defined who we are, have informed who we are. We've also looked at different areas that have held us back in life. So this time, we're going to be evaluating what exactly is holding you back. What is it that's causing you to fall short of your goals? Usually when we look at our lives, it can be related to looking into a pot of cooked spaghetti. Everything is jumbled together. Everything is all in one lump. You can't see where it starts or ends. But if we begin to remove one string of spaghetti at a time and lay it on the counter, eventually everything will be straightened out and everything will become clear. So we are going back and we're going to evaluate or reevaluate some of the concepts that we've done in the past to be able to get maybe a different perspective on those issues that may actually be what's causing us to fall short of the hopes, dreams, and desires for our lives and have kept us away from that which we were destined to do. The first one that we're going to look at is our race. There are a lot of people who feel that their race is holding them back, that their race is keeping them from reaching the levels that they'd like to reach. And so I want to challenge that limiting idea. In the past, we looked at challenging limiting ideas. It's in the list of podcasts that we've done. And there you can find Challenging Limiting Ideas Part 2. We talked about in that episode that there are segments of the United States that would like to take us back to a time, an era which was called Jim Crow, in which removing the rights of others, degrading others, tearing down others was the norm, and that people had to fight to be perceived even as the true human beings that they were. This concept was across the board. It wasn't just societal from a political perspective, but it was also ingrained in our culture, in our churches, in our schools, in our social activities, in everything. And so when we think about the fact that we're now at a time where some people feel that that's a good idea to go back to that, we can see some of the issues and the difficulties that are taking place within the United States at this time. As we talked about in Challenging Limiting Ideas Part 2, we talked about the fact that many of these concepts, many of these ideas are stemming from fear. Fear. Jealousy stems from fear. Looking at what someone else has and thinking that we will never have it stems from a place of fear. Scripture tells us that love, God's love, the love of Spirit, the Creator of God, of our source, cannot make things perfect or be made perfect in fear, because fear carries with it a tormenting factor. It carries with it lost sleep. It carries with it anxiety. It carries with it a lack of self-esteem, which relates back to the fact that it has a tormenting part to it. Fear says that in order for you to get something, that means that I won't be able to have it. Jealousy says that if you have that, I can't have it because there's not enough to go around. For those who have built their lives on a foundation of truth, you know that that is simply not the truth. How could Source, Creator, God, Spirit be limited? How could an all-encompassing entity now not be able to encompass this? How did our fear become larger than that which we believe is larger than us? There's another segment of our country that has actually gone so far as to want to criminalize what is taught when we look at the injustices of one segment of the country against another. Actually seeking to legislate away the ability that one group of people has to even tell their own story. We see this, and we talked about this previously, as related to the critical race theory, which we had already determined is simply a law school level, a graduate level discourse that was taught in law schools, or discussed in law schools rather, that would put in place the legal structure to remove this discrepancy in our society. And that in itself, for some, is terrifying. I started thinking about it and I said, well, are we fearful? Are others, or those who are fearful, are they fearful of the children knowing the truth? Or are they fearful that if the children knew the truth, it might cause them to feel differently about us? The story has been said that if our children knew the truth, then they would feel bad about themselves. I don't think that's what the real issue is. I believe that if our children knew the truth, they might ask us, what did we do to change things? And then if we did nothing to change things, that they might think that we are a part of the problem and not a part of its solution. And then our children would not think less of themselves, but they would think less of us. And when we have not taken advantage of our privileges, is it the fault of someone else, or is it our own fault? Once we get into the practice of holding another group of people back, we will always have to hold them back. So when we're acting like we're a jailer, we have to report to prison every day to make sure the prisoners stay put. So what kind of liberty, what kind of life am I living if I have to go to prison to remain the warden or the guard against someone else's life? When something or someone doesn't grow, then we have to look at why they have become stunted, or why they function in a system that's no longer viable. The truth is simply the truth, and attempting to silence the truth doesn't change what it is in its truest form. Attempting to silence the truth blatantly displays fear. And the fear is that truth will prevail, that it will overcome. In order to correct a particular behavior, then we have to go to the root of that behavior. And when we accurately and strategically evaluate and isolate that behavior, then we'll be able to exercise or strategically remove that behavior and the sick issues surrounding it. I'm saying that to say that you can't go in with a sledgehammer and start knocking down the pillars because the entire house will fall, the roof will fall. But when we strategically go in to remove areas that are no longer functioning, that have been stunted, that are no longer in the best interest of everyone, not just a group, then we find a way to strategically remove that behavior, and in so doing, repair some of that knowledge, or that repair some of the damage. I find it interesting that in the United States, some of the legislators would rather vote against their own constituents in order to hold someone else back. Recently, there was a bill that was signed that would relieve some student debt. I think the amount was maybe $10,000, which on the face is not that large of an amount of money. If you were a student who utilized the Pell Grant system in order to have some relief, and maybe you were going to one of the top schools in our country, $10,000 is not going to make a dent in your debt. It's great, but it's not going to be so significant until you won't have student loan debt. But when you think of the fact that $10,000 for a trade school would be a great help, when you think of the fact that just in the definition of minority says that there is a majority, and if minority students are that, in fact, a minority, who would be helped most by student loan forgiveness? It would be the majority. Somehow or another, we haven't told ourselves the truth. Somehow or another, we're willing to listen to people who are being less than candid and honest with us, siding with people who would actually remove rights from us in order to stop a small group of people that we are fearful will take advantage if they get an opportunity. As we addressed in Challenging Limiting Behaviors Part 2, some are willing to remove the rights of others because fear and jealousy says, if you have something, there won't be enough for me. We as a world must tell ourselves the truth. And once we do that, we'll no longer be afraid of others. We'll no longer be hyper concerned about the other guy getting a break, because then we realize that guy's break gives me a break as well. Open doors are open for everyone. And when I close them, I'm closing them on myself as well. Thank you for listening, and join me next time as we redefine the previous steps of your process. Never forget, becoming is a process. A process has stages. One small change changes everything. So invest in yourself. Please visit my website at www.DrAnitaMc.com. That's DrAnitaMc.com for links and additional information. And please rate the podcast if you're enjoying it.